Yes, welcome back to Platform MK here on Secklow 105.5. This is Mike Johnson. We like to share the light on the local voluntary sector here in Milton Keynes, or organizations who are doing outreach work. If that's you, we'd love to get involved with us. Drop us a text to 82228. Start your text with the word radio, leave a space, and then your message. In studio now, in the hot chair, is Kirsten Giles from MedicAlert. Kirsten, how are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Great. Thank you for taking part in the earlier discussion. Much appreciated. Well, we started with Hannah by asking her about her personally, first of all. Can I do the same with you? Tell us about your journey, your career journey, and the things that you've achieved and, proud of and so on.
Oof. So I started trying to calculate the number of years. Long time ago.
Don't do that.
Long time ago.
In a far away place.
Far away land. I graduated with a business degree, went straight into IBM, and spent a good deal of my career there. I was very fortunate to move through from a technical support role into an account management role, and finally spent the majority of my career in management consulting, working with large organisations who were facing either requirement change or new opportunities where they needed to think through what infrastructure, what processes, what IT, what people, what culture they needed in order to take advantage of the opportunities or to address the change issues that they were facing. Then I had my children, and I had a few years off with them. I have two boys who are not really boys anymore. And then I worked in the city for a little while, in a niche finance organisation, working in a very focused area, which was enjoyable for a period of time. And then I was given an opportunity to work with a small telecoms company that was facing a requirement to change the way they engaged with the industry. Again, another really interesting challenge. And then following that, was given the opportunity to do the job I'm doing now, which is to head up MedicAlert in the UK. So we are a 55-year-old charity. It was our birthday on Sunday. Mm-hmm. The organisation's been around a lot longer than that around the world. So we started in America by a doctor whose daughter was allergic to tetanus toxoid, which is what they give you as a tetanus injection if you go into hospital and you've had an injury. And she nearly died from being given this. So for a little while she was walked around with a paper label pinned to her coat or her dress or whatever that he'd put on saying allergic to tetanus toxoid. And eventually, inevitably, she got a bit fed up with that. So he made her a bracelet, which had a medical symbol, the symbol we still use, which is a sword with a snake wrapped around it, which is recognised as sort of an apothecary type symbol. Yes. And then MedicAlert around that. And on the back of it, it said that she was allergic to tetanus toxoid. And it was such a popular bracelet with people that knew them that he found himself making more and more of them. And eventually he and his wife set up a charity, which is now in many countries around the world. And it's expanded to be not just the bracelets, but probably more importantly, a full medical record, which is kept online and accessible by the members themselves. So our members all have some medical condition which puts them at risk in the event of an emergency. And what they do is join us, and then they set their record up with all of their details on all their medication, all their conditions, any history, any important documents that they might have that need to be available in the event of an emergency. They would then suggest the elements that are the most important that would need to be on the back of a bracelet. And those records are then reviewed by my nurses, who will check that they feel they're accurate, there's nothing that's missing, it all makes sense from a medical perspective, and ensure that the most important medical conditions are the ones that are on the back of the bracelet.
So you can have multiple, if you've got multiple conditions, they should all be listed there.
They should. And I mean, there's a limit to how much you can get on a bracelet. And we do have various sizes. So some of them have quite a lot of ability to have text on the back. So you need to pick the right size for you, depending on what needs to be on there. But there's also an emergency 24/7 number. And your membership number. So although the key details are on the back of the bracelet, the rest of your information is available just a phone call away. So a medical professional in an emergency situation would call, and our operatives would highlight any other issues that they needed to have. Someone goes into hospital, the hospitals often call us and we send them the full record. And in addition to that, we issue people with a wallet card, which is like a plastic credit card, which has more details than are on the bracelet, but not as much as are on the full record, and they can carry that in their wallet with them. People often find that very useful if they're on a lot of medication and they need to go to a pharmacy or sometimes to seek some advice from somebody, rather than trying to remember everything, and some of these names are very long. They can just use that, which has all of their medication on. So
sorry, can the bracelets can be used by kids as well, or just for adults?
It's children as well. We've lots of children who are members. The most important thing about the bracelet, and it isn't just bracelets, we also have necklaces. So the reason for those two is because medics are trained to check people's pulse points if they're in an emergency situation. It's the first place they'd look, and the pulse points are on your neck and on your wrist.
Right.
So that's where they would spot it. That's why it's important to wear them. And yeah, the most important thing is that somebody wears them. So they need to like them. So we have a wide range, some especially for children, others that are more generic but with children's sizes. And we listen to our members, and try and identify what's missing in our range, what people need. It's a very big range. It's arguably too big, and we spend time thinking, do we need all of it? So one of the other aspects of the business which is unusual is that we actually make them all ourselves as well. So we're a complex little business.
And I have a condition. I have type 2 diabetes. Okay, it's not as bad as the insulin one, but is that something I should be considering as well, having a bracelet or a bracelet certainly?
I think if you have diabetes of any description, it would be a good idea to wear a bracelet, because if you were in a situation where you couldn't speak for yourself, if you were unconscious, or you were in a position where you couldn't be coherent, then somebody would be able to see immediately that you had type 2 diabetes, and it's important that the medic knows whether you're on insulin or not on insulin, because that would affect the way they treated you. So, essentially having the information to hand allows the medics to give you the best treatment as early as possible. So, for example, one of our members, and there's a story on our website about him, is allergic to penicillin but is also a haemophiliac, and he was in a car accident, which is a number of years ago now, and he attributes his life being saved to the fact that the medics were aware of both those things very early on in having found him, and he was in fact airlifted to the right hospital who could help him with that condition and with his haemophilia, because in a car accident with something like haemophilia, they need to be very aware of internal bleeding, which is not always obvious. So.
Now, that's fine for medics. They're trained to look for these things, but if somebody finds me somewhere in the street or wherever in the home, that's not instinctively what they would want to look for, is it? How do we get that message across to the general public?
Yeah, it's a really, really good point, because sometimes there isn't a medic immediately available, and increasingly we are finding that people with dementia and Alzheimer's, autism, all sorts of illnesses that are not necessarily as obviously emergency related, are wearing our bracelets. And so, having an awareness that if you found somebody who was in difficulty and you spotted that they were wearing a bracelet, there might be some clues on that as to how you could help them more effectively. So, increasing everybody's awareness of what they look like, and what might be on the back of them. If you saw somebody who was unconscious and you saw them wearing a bracelet, as you call the emergency services, it might be useful to turn it over and be able to tell them what you can see. Most members of the public probably don't feel able to provide treatment in an emergency, but sometimes knowing the background condition that people have can help direct the right resource to them as quickly as possible.
Yes, indeed. I'm here with Kirsten Giles from MedicAlert. If you've got one of these bracelets, let us know your experiences, or you discovered someone who was wearing one and you were able to assist them based on what you could see. Let us know. 82228. Start your text with the word radio, leave a space, and then your message. Talking to Kirsten Giles from MedicAlert. Kirsten, you talked about members. So how does it work then? I want to sign up for whatever it is. What do I get for my joining? And is there cost to me and so on?
Yeah. So all of that, we don't call our customers, they're members, so they're member of the charity. If you were to join us, you would have your own medical record online, which you have access to via a website. You would choose a piece of jewellery, and we have, as I've said, on-staff nurses who are available to advise you should you need them to, and you get the plastic wallet card. So essentially those are the physical sort of things that you get. Ultimately, what we're really delivering to people is peace of mind and a sense of being safe and feeling secure that if anything did happen to them, or in the case of children, parents also feeling very safe and like their children will be looked after if the worst should happen. And in most cases, hopefully it won't. We don't get lots and lots of emergencies, which is really good. So the rest of the time, what people are feeling hopefully is safe. And we do make a charge. We keep it as low as we possibly can. So it's £32 a year if you pay by cheque, and $29.50 if you set up a direct debit. There is obviously a cost of running the charity. We are very lucky in that many of our members give us more money than their annual membership. They make donations, which allows us to provide support to people who need the service, who can benefit from it, but who can't afford it themselves. So we can subsidise that, and in some cases we can provide it free of charge. And then the bracelets start at, or necklaces start at, I think our lowest at the moment is about $10.95 or something like that. But we go all the way up to, very nice gold items, because people who have long-term life illnesses, and if they have to wear one all the time, it's very important that you love your bracelet, because otherwise you won't wear it, because it literally is in front of you 24/7. It's, you can't not look at it, so you need to like it. Many of our female members and some of our male members have more than one piece. So lots of ladies like to have a choice of things depending on, what outfit they're wearing it with. If people have really serious illnesses, we sometimes encourage them to have a main one and a backup one, just in case they lose it. Or if you've got a very nice gold or silver one, you may choose to have something that's a bit cheaper to do the gardening in, for example. So bracelets, you have a choice, and we try and keep our fees as low as we can.
One thing I would like to ask you is, can I add conditions, and how should I choose the conditions I should write? I'm giving an example. At home, I have a 9-year-old boy. He has at least 5 conditions. I don't know if you can write all the 5 conditions. Can you? If not, how can I prioritize them?
So you can absolutely put all of those conditions in his online record, which is obviously available at the end of a call if there was an emergency. And then, as I've said, we employ nurses. We're the only organisation in the medical ID field that employs nurses to check your record. So what they would do is they would look at it and see you would pick your piece of jewellery and what size the disc is on the back, and that would determine how many characters you can fit on. If you can't fit everything you want onto the bracelet, you can give us a call and talk to one of the nurses, and they'll talk you through it and help you understand, if any of the words or terms can be shortened to still be meaningful, but so that we can fit more characters on, because it is literally a case of engraving on a piece of metal. Or they might say to you, do you know what? That second point is obvious. It would be obvious to a medic that if they had the first one, they've definitely got the second one, and they would help you get the order right and what should be on and what shouldn't be on.
And if I am, for example, an older person, and if I get diabetes or something, can I add on my wristband, can I add something? Can I add diabetes or I don't know, whatever?
Yeah,
can
it's
I
a
add?
really good question, because a lot of our members, their illnesses develop over time. So if they're members with us for a long time, then things do change. So we recognise that. So for the record can change at any point. You have access to it online. If you make any changes, those changes will be checked by the nurses as well. And if they have any queries, they'll give you a call. And if you need to change what's on the back of your bracelet, for the lower cost ones, you need a new bracelet, because we'd have to re-engrave. But for the precious metals, for the gold and silver ones, we offer a disc exchange, because those are more expensive items. So what we do is we charge as low as we possibly can, but we clearly are taking back a disc, and in the case of gold and silver, that needs to be scrapped, and then we'll engrave you with a new one with the new stuff on it. So we just charge the cost of us scrapping the metal and doing the re-engraving, which is is a relatively nominal fee. But also what we do when they're set up is we try and encourage people to put long-term illnesses on, and things that if something was likely to be a short-term illness, then we probably would say you don't need it on the bracelet because it's going to be on your record anyway. So try and help encourage people to do the initial engraving as something that's going to last them a long time.
Who is able to see my records? Imagine I'm part of your member of your organization. Who is able to see my records?
Well, it's you. First of all, it's your record. You own the data. So under the new GDPR laws, that's very, very clear. In the organisation, my nurses would be able to see it, and we have member support agents who are the people that man the phones and talk to our members when they call in, and they're able to access your record as well. And that's it. So it's not it's not available to anyone outside of our organisation.
Thank you.
We are talking to Kirsten Giles from MedicAlert. If you have a question for her or a comment, or you've experienced the service, then please drop us a note. We'd love to hear from you. Send your text to 82228. 82228. Start your text with the word radio, then your message, and send it off to 82228. It's a standard network charge, by the way. It's Platform MK here, Mike Johnson, in conversation with Kirsten Giles from MedicAlert. And Kirsten, let's go through some of the priority points that you've got right now. First one being protection for children before they go off to school and so on.
Okay. One of the people who have a medical condition are often surrounded by people that they know, but they'll go through stages in their lives where they're in unfamiliar environments and places where people don't know them as well. And starting secondary school, so ages 11 to 18, is a period when they are by themselves more often. They may be travelling to school on some kind of transport. They're with new friends. They are often not with the same teacher all the way through the day, and they may stay for after school clubs, again with different people and being supervised by somebody different. And so wearing something then that identifies to people around them that they're safe. I was just reflecting on the song choice, so Don't Worry, Be Happy is really appropriate, because actually we want people to not worry. We want them to feel safe. Because they've got they're wearing an ID. They're hopefully if they have to carry medication, many of our IDs will say carries medication. So someone would know to look. And again, just keeping them safe. University brings another set of challenges, or leaving home to go to first jobs and that sort of thing, because young people of that age think they're grown up, but they generally don't have huge amounts of life experience, and they're often in unfamiliar situations. They may be encountering unsupervised alcohol for the first time. They often stay up late, so they might be suffering from tiredness, which can affect some illnesses. And they may be wary about, again, telling the people around them, their new friends, that there's something wrong with them. I was just explaining, that music was on a very sad story of a young lad of 19 who went off to university and suffered from diabetes. Didn't tell any of his friends, wasn't wearing any kind of ID, and passed out in a pub, in fact, and everybody thought he just had too much to drink, and unfortunately he died, which is, and I do get to hear stories of when things go wrong, which is terribly, terribly sad. Now, there's obviously no guarantee that had he been wearing an ID bracelet, he would still be with us, but the chances are better that somebody might have spotted it. And I think that's what it's all about, is improving the chances of somebody seeing something, taking some action early.
So if we have one of these conditions or one of these bracelets or necklace, we really should be boasting. Hey, listen, guys, if anything happens, I've got one of these things here. Do make sure you check,
Yeah, and I think that's, it needs to become something that we're all familiar with, aware of. Looking after the people around us is part of being human, really, and living in communities. So, having an awareness, if you see somebody with one on, just clocking that if anything happens, they're wearing one, you're not going to be nosy and have a look until you need to. But if they were in trouble and they couldn't speak for themselves or they were unconscious, then, you might be able to help them if you have a better understanding of what's wrong with them. And certainly it would help you to provide more information to emergency services should you need to call them. So.
And what about the heart? People with major, I guess they're all major, but heart conditions and so on. Where do they fit into priorities?
So, well, obviously, there's many types of heart conditions, but heart conditions tend to potentially be more serious than some other conditions, and often people suffering from an attack associated with a heart condition find it very difficult to talk, because often it affects their breath or it may make them unconscious. And of our membership, I think it's something like a third suffer with a heart condition of one sort or another, and often not just a heart condition. It may be a heart condition and some other condition, an allergy, or So unfortunately, I think we do find there's a lot of people who aren't very well. And helping them to feel safer, to look after themselves, to make them feel that they can stay active and join in, can improve their quality of life and, in fact, their health. So, really important. And with heart conditions, depending on what it is, we have members who have implants. Really important for a medic to know that there was an implant. And the older ones are, you could feel through the skin, but some of the modern ones are very, very tiny, and so you can't actually see them. But the use of a defibrillator may not be appropriate if somebody has a heart implant, for example. So again, very important that somebody would be aware of that.
Now, you mentioned their allergies. Because with the big case in the news recently about that girl who died of eating that sandwich from Pret. So if one has these allergies, that really needs to be high up the list, isn't it?
Absolutely. Allergies are, particularly if it's a severe allergy where there's a danger of anaphylactic shock, which can happen relatively quickly. And many people who have that condition, who have severe allergies, would carry medication with them that would need to be injected. And if they can't do it themselves, it's very important that somebody with them would know that. And again, a bracelet would identify that to somebody that was, unfamiliar with them, hadn't met them before. So they can save lives. And going back to the point about going to university, we work with the Anaphylaxis Campaign is a charity which improves awareness of allergies and the potential for anaphylactic shock. And they tell us that the incidence of fatalities through anaphylactic shock is highest in the 18 to 25-year-old age group.
Why is that?
But I think it's the same reasons. It's our young adults who are perhaps not in unfamiliar surroundings with people that they're not really known to, and wouldn't necessarily in the course of a conversation let somebody know that they had a severe allergy. Food allergies are very common, but there are also environmental allergies where you may not have any visibility of what the allergen is, and you may not have any awareness that you've breathed it in or it's been on your skin, and then you suddenly start to react. And it is extraordinary how many things people are allergic to, and very surprising, some of them. But it can be very debilitating, and it can come on very, very quickly.
How many members do you have in your organisation?
We've got about 45,000 in the UK. There are affiliate organisations in the US, in Canada, in New Zealand and Australia. And there's a small organisation in Africa, actually, what we were talking about earlier. So, around the world, and all of our emergency line is available from anywhere in the world, 24/7. So it doesn't matter whether you're in the UK, you can be on holiday. And we have a translation service for 100 languages and dialects. So if the person calling you is not an English speaker, we can handle that as well.
Okay, we'll have a musical break and then we'll come back and let's talk about, you just mentioned it there, people going on holidays, and wrap up from there. Final moments of Platform MK with Kirsten Giles from MedicAlert. And Kirsten, we alluded to holidays and staying safe on holidays. So what's the protocol here? What's the plan?
Okay, so holidays are a time when you want to relax, you want to feel safe, and yet you're probably in an unfamiliar environment. You may be in another country, and if you do have a medical condition that makes you vulnerable in the event of an emergency, then having the MedicAlert service, which is the online record and the jewellery, can help you both feel safer and actually be safer. So I mentioned just before the break that we had a 24/7 emergency line, which is can translate into 100 different languages and dialects. So literally anywhere around the world, your record can be accessed by somebody if they need to. And a lot of our members, most of our members stay with us for long periods of time because unfortunately most of their illnesses don't go away. We do occasionally get people who recover, but not very many of them. And last summer we had to emergency ship a bracelet over to France for a young girl who was on holiday and who had lost her bracelet, and she wouldn't go out. She didn't feel safe without it. So that was a recognition of how important these pieces of jewellery are to people. They become, as we said earlier, like talismans. They're your safety. It keeps you safe, and many people wear them literally 24/7. They don't take them off. A lot of them, some of them are not meant to be worn all day, and we're very clear on the website. But a number of them, you just pop them on and that's it. Keep them on in the shower, in the bath, in bed.
Are there any issues with people who might have certain reactions to having metal on their skin and stuff like that?
There are. We do have members who are sensitive to metal, and we do have some bracelets which they tend to be fabric based, and the medical ID is on the outside, so it's not in direct contact with their skin. Those are definitely worth having a look at. And then there's a number of different ones, depending on, there's some nice ones for men, some nice ones for kids, some sports ones. So we try and cater for the needs of all of our members, and we're constantly asking members to let us know what they need. So a couple of recent additions to our product portfolio include we became aware that nurses and people who work in hospitals aren't allowed to wear jewellery, because I think there's an issue about washing hands and keeping clean and things. So we've developed a tag that you can hang on the top front of a lanyard, an ID lanyard that people would always wear in those situations, which means it's there, visible to people all the time. And that was suggested to us by a member, which is brilliant. And another bracelet which it's not launched yet, which has got a catch on it which is very difficult to undo, and that was suggested to us, or we have developed it as a result of a member who has an autistic child who kept undoing all of the catches. A Houdini. He managed to we changed the catch 4 or 5 times, and he managed to get out of it every single time. So we've developed a catch which is needs probably a mum or dad to put on, and is probably quite hard for somebody to get off of themselves. So constantly, listening to requirements and trying to see whether we can create something which suits, a group who would benefit from it.
So, Kirsten, we want to thank you very much indeed for coming in. Very vital work that you're doing there at MedAlert. Any takeaways, any takeaway messages that you want to leave with us?
I would say if you have a medical condition, or you know anyone, and could be a child, a parent, a friend, a relative who has a medical condition who would be safer with a membership and with a medical ID, then go to our website, take a look. It should be self-explanatory. It's www.medicalert, all one word, .org.uk. That's www.medicalert.org.uk. and you should be able to see how to become a member, have a look at the various ranges. But if you have any problems, the information line, which is staffed by my fantastic team who will help you in any way that they can, is on the website, and just give them a call and they will answer any questions that you might have.
Sheila, any final thoughts from you, any final questions?
No, I have a final thought that I'm so surprised that these bracelets, they can save lives, and why we're not aware of it. We should be more aware of it, because if they can save lives, they can save kids' life, old people's life, and we should promote it more.
Thank you.
Well, hopefully we've done our bit here on Secklow 105.5. Thanks so much indeed for popping by. And if you've got any news alerts that you want us to share, just drop us an email. We'll do that for you. Thanks again to my guest, Kirsten Giles from MedicAlert.